Want to beat graphs instead of getting beaten by them? Welcome back to Undegreed. And today, we hunt cycles, prove number truths, follow Einstein to a solar eclipse, and close with a $2.4 thousand trading win. Let's go. First up, my DSA lecture. We started with cycle detection in graphs. Given a graph, determine whether it contains a cycle. It's a simple question on the surface, but it opens up multiple useful techniques. In directed graphs, one common approach is DFS with a recursion stack or the white, gray, black color method. While running DFS, if you encounter a node that's already in the recursion stack or marked gray, you found a back edge, and that confirms the presence of a cycle. Another clean approach is Quant's algorithm using BFS. You try to perform a topological sort using Undegreed, and if some nodes can't be processed, it means a cycle exists in the graph. A quick clarification here. DSU isn't typically used for cycle detection in directed graphs. It's mainly designed for undirected graphs. For undirected graphs, the standard technique is DFS or BFS with parent tracking. While traversing, if you come across a visited neighbor that is not the parent of the current node, that directly indicates a cycle. Tracking the parent avoids counting the immediate back edge as a cycle. Topological sort itself helps us find a linear order of tasks with dependencies and works only on DAGs. The PS5 example fits perfectly. By the PS5, set up your account, connect the controllers, install a game, and then play. Each step depends on a previous one, with no cycles involved. After understanding the theory, I moved to applying it practically. I solved the cycle detection problem for an undirected graph on Geeks4Geeks. And next I'll walk you through the exact DFS-based approach step by step, along with terminal clips. The first problem I solved on Geeks4Geeks was cycle detection in an undirected graph. The task was simple. Given V vertices and E edges, determine whether a cycle exists. I built the adjacency list and a visited array. For each unvisited node, I ran DFS with the parent set to -1. During DFS, if I found an unvisited neighbor, I continued the traversal with the current node as the parent. If a neighbor was already visited and wasn't the parent, that immediately confirmed a cycle. The parent check is crucial because the edge back to the parent doesn't form a cycle in undirected graphs. If any DFS call detected a cycle, I returned true. Otherwise, the graph was acyclic. I also mentioned an alternative approach using DSU. Each node starts in its own set, and for every edge, UV, if both nodes already belong to the same set, a cycle is detected. Otherwise, the sets are merged. DSU is fast and clean, while DFS offers better traversal control. The second problem had larger constraints, where recursive DFS could cause stack overflow. After checking this, I used an iterative DFS with an explicit stack of node, parent. The logic stayed the same, and the time complexity remained O, N plus M. Finally, I solved a small, easy leak code problem to keep the momentum going. Quick wins matter during long study sessions. Then I shifted to quant preparation. I wrapped up the natural numbers part of the number systems chapter and moved into number systems and functions. At first, it looks elementary, but it quickly becomes clear that it's not about calculations. It's about logic, structure, and proofs. You're not just finding answers. You're explaining why numbers behave the way they do. One of the most interesting ideas was denumerable sets. A set is denumerable if its elements can be put into a one-to-one correspondence with the natural numbers. In simple terms, if you can list the elements in order and assign each one a position, the set is countable, even if it's infinite. An endless line of people is a good analogy. If you can say you're the 548th person, the line is still denumerable. This really changes how you think about infinity. I then moved on to unique factorization and the fundamental theorem of arithmetic, which states that every integer greater than 1 can be written as a product of primes in exactly one way, apart from order. For example, 10 can only be written as 2 by 5. To understand why this holds, I studied Euclid's lemma, Bezout's identity, and Euclid's algorithm for computing the greatest common divisor. These ideas form the backbone of number theory and explain why prime factorizations are unique. I've built a solid intuition for them, even though the proofs are still settling in. With that, I've finished the natural number section. Next up are integers, where negative numbers enter formally and the structure becomes even more interesting. Then came my daily reading session. I'm reading Einstein, His Life and Universe by Walter Isaacson, and I cover the years from 1911 to 1915. After special relativity, Einstein started developing general relativity, relying on Grossman for mathematical support and Besso for ideas. To confirm the theory, he needed experimental proof that gravity bends light, which meant observing stars near the sun during a solar eclipse. He even raised funds to send an expedition, marking the point where abstract theory met physical reality. One human detail that stood out was how Einstein used work as an escape. When life felt overwhelming, he immersed himself in calculations. Science became his refuge, showing how deep work can ground you when everything else feels noisy. The final part of DAY-22 was trading combined with machine learning. Since it was the weekend and traditional markets were closed, the only active market was crypto, so I focused my trading session there. I analyzed Bitcoin and XRP/USD on higher time frames first to understand the overall market structure. On both charts, my higher time frame bias was bullish. Price was holding above key support zones. Structure was making higher highs and higher lows, and there was no clear sign of a trend reversal. On lower time frames, I waited for confirmation in the form of pullbacks into support before entering. Based on this confluence, my bias was to buy, not sell. I took demo long positions on both Bitcoin and XRP/USD, clearly defined my invalidation by placing stop-loss levels below support and set realistic take-profit targets near areas of previous resistance. Once the risk was defined and the trades were placed, I deliberately stepped away from the charts. No over-monitoring, no emotional interference. With the trades running in the background, I shifted my full focus to machine learning. Since I had already completed linear regression, multilinear regression, and regularization techniques like L1 and L2, the next logical step was logistic regression. Unlike linear regression, which predicts continuous numerical values, logistic regression is used for classification, where the output is a probability between 0 and 1. Instead of fitting a straight line, logistic regression fits an S-shaped logistic curve. This curve ensures that predictions always stay within the valid probability range. To make this work mathematically, the model doesn't directly predict probability. Instead, it models the log odds given by the expression log p/1 minus p, where p is the probability of the event occurring. This transformation maps values from the range 0 to 1 into negative infinity to positive infinity, which allows us to apply linear modeling techniques under the hood. I then studied how the model parameters work. Each coefficient represents how much a unit change in a feature affects the log odds of the outcome. To judge whether a feature actually contributes meaningfully to the prediction, we look at z-values, which are calculated by dividing the estimated coefficient by its standard error. If the absolute value of the z-score is small, typically less than around 2, it indicates that the feature may not be statistically significant and can be dropped from model. This makes logistic regression extremely powerful for binary classification problems, such as predicting whether a mouse is obese or not, using a mix of continuous variables like weight and age and categorical variables like genotype. It's not just about prediction. It's about understanding which variables matter and why. After finishing the ML session, I checked back on my trades. Both Bitcoin and XRP/USD had moved cleanly in my direction. I booked a combined demo profit of $2,400, which made it a well-executed session both technically and mentally. That's Day-22, DSA, terminal coding, deep number theory, Einstein and eclipses, disciplined crypto trading, and a solid machine learning session. If this video helped you, hit like, subscribe to Undegreed, and let me know which topic or problem you wanted to break down line by line next. I'll post the terminal clips and relevant code in the description. Learn the rules of the game, then play better than anyone else. Subscribe if you want daily study sessions, clear problem walkthroughs, and the real combination of trading and machine learning. I'll see you tomorrow. Same grind.
The network awakens. Intelligence takes form. Undegreed. The signature remains.